Clean it like riding, but I know that they ain't. Ride or die. I go hard in the paint, yeah, homie, I'm a saint. Ride or die.
have a
I
question for
was
Matt.
wondering if Matt's gonna defend that subjective morality is incoherent.
What do you mean by incoherent?
It's contradictory.
What do you mean by subjective morality is contradictory? I don't understand.
Yeah, that it leads to some sort of contradiction.
I don't understand why you would apply that, how it leads to a contradiction. I'm serious. I don't understand what you're trying to get at.
So it's possible for subjective morality to be true then.
True in what sense? I'm not playing a game here. It could be subjectively true that you prefer A over B in your moral worldview. Well, that would be true for you, but it's not universal truth. So this is why I'm having difficulty in
Yeah,
understanding what you're getting at.
exactly. Yeah, so
Matt, do you
subjective
agree?
morality is a
Matt and
form.
Billy, please, Dominic.
Matt,
Let's let
Matt,
no
real.
Dominic. Dominic, sorry, Matt and Billy. Matt likes to talk to people one on one, and I'm going to give him that. You can talk to him after, though. Go
Just
ahead,
one quick
Billy and Matt.
question, and I'll shut up.
No, please, Dominic. You can come back later. I promise.
Okay.
Yeah, so subjective morality is a form of anti-realism, meaning that there is no objective uh, um, there's no objective morality. There's no things that you ought not, or either you ought to or ought not to do, independent of people's preferences.
Okay. So let me ask you, do you believe statements are true or false?
No, some statements are not propositional.
I didn't say all statements. I said, do you believe statements are true or false?
Some statements are true or false, yeah.
Okay. Do you believe that your statement about nominalism, realism, morality is true?
Nominalism and realism. I
Didn't you make
didn't invoke nominalism.
statement that you believe that there are no moral, uh, extant, independent values out there, right?
Yeah, I don't think that there are, or at least I'm very skeptical that there are stance
Okay.
independent moral truths.
So is your statement true?
Yeah, I think so.
Statements have the value of being able to be true or false, right? So I'm going to ask you a
No, not
question.
all statements. I mean, if
I didn't.
a question, look, some statements are not propositional. Like if I say, go shut the door, that's not a proposition, so it's not going to have a truth value. If I ask you a question like, what did you have for lunch today? That's not propositional, so it's not going to have a truth value.
Indicatives and interrogatives are different. So let me ask you a question.
Exactly.
Statement. It is always morally wrong for anyone to torture babies to death merely for their personal pleasure. Is that statement true or is it not true?
Well, it depends what you mean by moral. If you say that it's always morally wrong, uh, independent of anyone's preferences to torture babies for fun, I'm going to say that's false because I'm not convinced there is such a thing that of stance independent moral truths. Um, but if you mean, do I always think it's wrong? Like, do I always not prefer for people to torture babies? Then that's true, right? It just depends how you use the term moral.
Is it always right or wrong? Is a statement true or false? Just asking you a statement, and you'll say, "What does this mean or that mean?" If I give you better answers, would you then pick what does the verb "is" mean? I'm asking a question. Is this
No,
statement?
no, that's not
Hold on.
fair, Matt. Come on.
Yes, it is fair. So let me ask you: is
Oh,
the
come on, Matt.
statement true, or is it not the case that it's true? Because statements have value. I didn't say every statement. Statements have the value of truth, particularly when it comes to morality. If you
No,
see
I
this,
just disagreed with that. Propositions have the value of true and false. Statements sometimes not.
I don't know if I'm going to continue because you keep interrupting.
Just look, if you say propositions are true and false, I can agree with that. But if you keep saying statements are true or false, it's just
What
like not correct.
What kind of proposition?
Sorry?
What kind of proposition? What's your definition of a proposition?
What's my definition of a proposition? I don't think I have some like well thought out. There's probably like some technical like needs to contain some sort of uh, noun and verb or like something like that, but I don't really know.
Propositions are often said to be shareable objects of the attitudes and the primary bearers of truth and falsity. Frege has, and Bertrand Russell and G.E. Moore have different understandings of what propositions are. Truth-bearing statements. Is there any truth value in the statement? It is always wrong for anyone to torture babies to death merely for their personal pleasure. Is it potentially true or is it potentially false?
Yeah, I mean, there are some people that take it that like objective morality is kind of like not really a coherent concept. I don't
Why
really
can you not
buy
simply
that.
answer the question?
Billy, hold on.
Oh my
Sorry,
gosh.
Tangelo. Wait. This is between Matt and Billy. I do not want to let others jump in right now. Go
Okay,
ahead,
so
Matt.
um look, if you mean it in an objective sense, do I always think it's like objectively wrong to torture babies? The answer is no. I'm not convinced there is such a thing as objective morality or it stands independent moral truths. I'm not even convinced it's a coherent concept, but um, I can grant you that it's a coherent concept for the sake of argument and just deny that there is such a thing. Be an error theorist about that.
In your
What's
opinion,
incoherent about it?
is it okay to torture babies to death?
Based on my moral preferences, no.
So, in your opinion, is it wrong for everybody, for anybody, to torture babies to death?
Yeah, I think it's
Okay.
always wrong for people to torture babies to death. That's my
Okay.
moral truth.
So,
I'm not saying that it's, but can I ask you a question that's gonna parody what you're asking me?
sure.
Is
After I ask
chocolate
this,
cake? No, 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 no. Oh, okay, fine, that's fine.
so your opinion is that everybody ought not to do something, right?
Yeah, that's my preference that people don't do that.
If there's no such thing as moral absolutes, moral transcendent values, and things like that, why are you inconsistent and say that's your opinion that everybody ought to have one?
Well, I'm not saying that everybody ought not torture babies. I'm saying in some objective sense, I'm saying that in my preference, it's my standards that people don't torture babies. Based on
Yeah,
my preferences, people ought not torture babies. But I'm
yeah.
not saying that it's that everyone ought to have that standard or something like. I don't think that's true.
Said
It's just my opinion.
you said your opinion is that everybody ought not do that. That's your opinion. All
Hmm.
right. So your opinion is that everybody ought to have a certain moral value.
What? I It's my opinion that everybody ought to have this normative language is like throwing me off. Um,
Showing
uh,
you your inconsistency. You imply, if I'm understanding you properly, there's no such thing as a universal moral obligation, and yet your opinion is that there is, because your opinion is that everybody ought to
no.
do, yes, everybody ought not do a certain morally bad thing.
Okay, can I ask my question now?
I just showed you that you're inconsistent, but go ahead, ask.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. Well, maybe you can put it in like a syllogism or something, because I'm not seeing the inconsistency. Um, Chocolate cake is always tasty. Is that statement true or false?
It's false.
What? Okay, so you deny that chocolate cake is always tasty. There are some times where
Yes,
chocolate cake tastes like garbage.
no, I didn't say that. I said it's the case that chocolate cake is not always tasty. When it's sitting in a bowl or under a glass after it's been cooked, it's not tasty. It's sitting under a glass.
What? But if someone were to eat it, it's going to be tasty, right?
Okay, now that's different. So you were saying chocolate cake is by its nature tasty, but no, you're saying when someone eats it, that's different. So when someone eats
Okay,
it,
all right. All
let
right.
me explain.
Okay, whatever. Yeah.
Let me
Okay,
explain.
so every time somebody eats chocolate cake, it's always tasty. Is that proposition true or false?
No, it's not true.
Okay, so there's some times when people eat chocolate cake, it tastes like garbage.
I didn't say that. I said it's not true. You should say, how then is it not true? I'll explain that. People have certain
Okay.
conditions where they can't taste. You have a sickness where your taste buds are basically done. And so not all people have the ability to taste something. Maybe there's a receptor problem where they can't taste chocolate, for example. I don't know, but I know that this kind of thing occurs. So your statement is false. Not all people. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. And that's exactly my point with the morality case, right? I think that I never desire for people to torture babies for fun. But let's say there's another person who likes torturing babies for fun, and it's going to be the act of torturing babies for fun is going to be good for them. So it's going to be good for them and wrong for me, right? In the same case that some people might eat chocolate cake and find it nice, they desire it, and another person might eat chocolate cake and find it disgusting and not like it, right? That's my view of morality. It's not comforting. I'd like it to be false, actually, but that's my view. I think that it's uh, more ontologically parsimonious. I can give arguments for it, but that's my view.
All right. So
Could
let's
I
put some
add
flesh and
real
blood on
quick?
this. Let me
No,
put
no,
some
wait,
flesh and
wait.
blood on this.
Just those two for right now, Dominic. You'll be.
Let's just say that you are, I don't know, a building with different rooms. You get lost. You're looking for the bathroom, not an emergency. You're just, I need to find a restroom. And you go into this one room. There's a man uh, punching a baby. He's striking this baby, spitting on it, and he's got a bat. He's gonna reach over his head over the bat, and he's gonna bash his baby. Now, what are you gonna do? Tell me why.
I'm gonna, if I, I'm gonna, to the best of my ability, stop that person from punching the baby.
Well, is it what he's doing wrong?
Not objectively wrong, no.
Oh, so it's not wrong what he's doing. Okay, just want to make
No,
sure
not
that everybody
objectively wrong.
understands. Everybody understands what your position leads to. That's not wrong. I'll just impose my personal value on him, even though what he's doing is not wrong. And what I believe is right is to impose my value upon him, but that's not wrong. But there's no objective morality, but I can do that inconsistently in that situation
It's
because that's what I'm going
inconsistent.
to do. Yeah, you're not making any sense.
What? What's
At this point, this is
inconsistent
when I
about it?
say,
Look,
at this point,
What
this is
if
when I say,
what,
next.
oh,
what if the
look,
guy
Matt, that's
All
says
not
righty.
fair.
after
Look, I
he
mean,
So
look, that's
Billy, if
not
you wanna,
fair, right?
so
Like,
after
you
he
hold on,
can't,
defends
real
against
quick,
but
Ross?
pause.
look, you
Pause. Just
can't,
a point of
oh my
moderation.
gosh.
Billy, if you want to give one last thought, but then I told Dominic he could ask his question right after that. So your thoughts, Billy, then Dominic can ask his question to Matt.
Yeah, all right. So, I think that it's clear that there hasn't been a contradiction shown in my view, right? There's not been any incoherency or a logical problem with the view that I've espoused. Um, and yeah, I mean, okay, I've granted that it's not exactly comforting, and I would love to say that what this person is doing by punching a baby is objectively wrong. It doesn't matter what anybody else says. What he's doing is just wrong. But I don't think there's a good argument to say that it is. In fact, I think there are good arguments to say that what he's doing is not objectively wrong. And that's my view. And look, I mean, you could just say that, well, that's what your view leads to. That's absurd, and walk away. That's totally fine. Um, but yeah, there's just been no inconsistency at all.
Yeah, there
So
is.
yeah,
Yeah, you're
what's the
inconsistent
P and not P,
because you
Matt?
want to.
What's the P and not
You
P?
You want to go in there and stop a guy from doing what he thinks is good, beating a baby to death, and you're going to stop him, but you say it's not wrong for him to do it because there's no right and wrong. But then suddenly
What's the
you're going to,
contradiction?
well, I was trying to talk, but you want to keep interrupting.
Yeah, but you weren't answering the question, so it's just a waste of time.
How do you know if I was answering or not? By when I was going through and talking, and then you interrupt, you say, see, you're not answering. How's that
Because I
consistent?
asked you, yeah, well, I'll tell you. It's not an answer to the question because I asked you what the P and not P, what the contradiction is. So you could have said the contradiction is there's something good and there's something not good. You could have said the contradiction is the cat is sitting on the mat and it's not the case the cat is sitting on the mat. That's a contradiction. You started talking about how, oh, from this guy's perspective, it's moral to punch a baby. From my perspective, it's not. But that's just restating what my view is. That's not a contradiction.
Well, what I
Do you mind
wanted
if
to accomplish was
Matt's
to
going to
show
give his last thoughts on that, then Dominic can ask his question.
what I wanted to do was show that you're inconsistent because you will impose your moral value or your value upon someone else who's performing an action. And you're saying that he shouldn't be doing what he's doing. He ought not be doing it. Furthermore, when I asked you earlier, is it wrong to do this, torture a baby to death, you said, yes, it is, in the sense that you believe that everybody ought not do it. Well, that means then that you, who can't justify a universal moral obligation, then affirm that there is one by saying they all ought not do it. And it's your opinion. Well, it's just my opinion. Of course, it's just your opinion. But your opinion is that they all ought not do it. But you can't say that if you're consistent and say that there is no moral absolute, because you can't say they all ought not. You can only say, hey, I don't like it. You're inconsistent.
Ride or die. I go hard in the paint, yeah, homie, I'm a saint. Ride or